and welcome to another segment of Believers Talk. I have with me again my resident co-host Felicia Fije Lewis, and I'm so glad she's back in the house. Welcome back.
Thank you. Glad to be back.
I'm
I
glad.
miss you.
Oh, I miss you too. I'm so excited about our guest today, Felicia.
Absolutely. I am too.
And we are very elated to discuss some very interesting topics. And today we have with us Father Jeff Bayhi. Welcome, Father Bayhi.
Thank you.
We
Thank
know
you.
you're hot off the plane from Rome, and we are so glad that you came to share with us today. We'll get into it right away, if you don't mind. We're ready, PJ?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready to ask questions and learn some good information today.
Well, I'm so shy, you'll never get me to talk.
Really?
I don't believe that. In fact, you have your own show, right?
I do,
And
yes.
so, what's that show called?
It's called Closer Walk. It airs on the Catholic TV channel.
Okay,
Channel
yes.
15 on Common.
Yes, I've seen you, Father.
Okay.
And so, because I'm channel surfing all the time, and I want to just look and try and examine the things of God more and more. So, I know you have your show.
So how long have you had that show?
Since 2001.
Okay.
Wow.
So 21 years.
21 years. That's amazing.
Oh my goodness. Is this what I have
So
to
did you
look
talk
forward
about a
to?
little bit of
You think I'd
everything?
run out of things to say, but I
But you
was
don't.
vaccinated with a phonograph needle, so you know, no, God always gives me what I need.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. Well, how long have you been in ministry?
I've been a priest 44 years now for the Diocese of Baton Rouge.
Okay, so that's your particular area that you work in, the diocese.
That's right. I'm a
But
pastor
you're
priest.
also a pastor of two churches, correct?
I am.
And what are those churches?
Those churches are St. John the Baptist in Zachary and Our Lady the Assumption in Clinton.
Wow.
So, you know, with the shortage, we're pairing parishes, so
Right.
25 miles in between, and so, you know, it keeps my dance card punched.
Well, Father, you're so busy.
When do you have time to sleep? Or do you sleep?
On the plane.
On the plane, okay.
Right, because what were you doing in Rome just recently?
Well, every year I lead a little pilgrimage.
Mhm.
I bring a group of people, and I think it's always incredible for them to experience a church close up like that.
Right.
And then, because of my work with the modern form of slavery, I'm trying to recruit religious sisters from around the world to come to the U.S. and to be trained to be caregivers for victims of this new form of slavery.
And this is exactly why we have you here. We want to get into it.
Let
The
me
human
give you
trafficking.
one stat.
Okay, go ahead.
In the United States, we have over 5,000 animal rescue shelters. Everyone holding a minimum of 100 animals. We have less than 600 beds for children being trafficked.
Beds.
Beds.
So that's not
Is that
facility.
local or just nationally
United States.
in the U.S.?
And so keep your puppies and kittens. I've got nothing against your puppies and kittens, but I prefer human beings to be rescued.
Absolutely.
Well, Father, and so one of the aspects that we want to discuss with you today is human trafficking, and I want to give the audience a quick definition based on the federal guidelines of what human trafficking is. Human trafficking involves the use of force, fraud, or coercion to obtain some type of labor or commercial sex act, causing someone under the age of 18 to engage in a commercial sex act, regardless of age, and using force, fraud, or coercion is human trafficking under the U.S. law. And Father, this is something that you've become passionate about. Can you tell us what are, first of all, what do you do, what have you done to determine how to treat these particular individuals? And tell us about your assessment of how you even got into having this passion of rescuing slaves, sex slaves, and labor slaves from the...
Yeah, let me just,
Right.
you know, the federal law defines it under the age of 18,
Mm-hmm.
Correct.
but it's not just.
But,
I didn't think so.
You know, they call them guerrilla pimps or Romeo pimps. A lot of people are still forced even after the age of 18. But let me put this in perspective. You know, we live in a society that if I use the wrong pronoun, I can lose my tenured professorship in a university. You know, if I use the wrong pronoun, I can be part of the cancel culture and everything. In this so-called woke, aware, sensitive generation where people don't feel safe, we got 50 million slaves worldwide. 50 million. We have more slaves today than in the entire 400 years of the African slave trade.
Yeah.
This is 2022.
So let me make sure I understand what you're saying. When you say slave, are we talking about in all aspects when it comes to sex trafficking and other categories?
All right, there are really three recognized forms.
Okay.
Forced labor, organ procurement,
Right.
you know, and forced sexual activity. 89.5% is forced sexual activity. Forced labor and organ procurement make up the other 10.5%. Now, with that being said, you know, we can sit here and I can tell you horror stories for a long time, but how did we get here?
I was going to ask you the
You
same
know,
question.
how did we
Yes.
get to a point in our modern society where we have so objectified human life that we think we can use it as a matter of profit, pleasure, or possession? And that's where we are. And there's some great offenders of this, and we're very well aware of it. But we had an incident at a suburban New Orleans high school where we had a high school senior trafficking 2 freshman girls.
Wow.
You know, the big deal is, and thank God I didn't have cell phones when I was young, but the big deal, kids call it sexting. Okay, he was the big man on campus, and he paid a lot of attention to 2 young freshman girls, okay? And eventually he got them to send the picture. They sent the picture. You do whatever I say or everybody in this school is gonna see this.
See the picture.
See the
It
picture.
was blackmail.
You know, for these 9th grade girls, that was a fate worse than death. But when we come back from the break, what I really want to talk about is that idea of profit, pleasure, or possession, the way we've come to look at human life. And I think unless we go to what causes it, we'll never find an answer to it or correct it.
Absolutely.
So.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. Happy holidays from Believers Talk.
Welcome back to Believers Talk. We're talking with Father Bayhi right now about sex trafficking. Father Bayhi, you left us hanging earlier. It's so intense.
You think about the things that go on. Think about the society that we live in. If someone gets too old and too disabled, we think we, not God, have the right to, they cost too much and it's so uncomfortable. Let's put them out of their misery. I happen to believe that life and death belongs to God.
Absolutely.
I happen to believe that in life and death belonging to God, that we are God from the moment of our conception. Because if we're not alive, there's no need to kill anything,
True.
you know? And so, but look at the way we have now looked at another human person. And I'm, you know, and look, when I was growing up and a kid and going through puberty and you know, playing ball, and we thought we were big and we were tough, and see somebody go, oh
Right.
yeah, I'd love to jump her bones. We did stupid stuff like
Yeah.
that, okay? And I'm not bragging about it. But now, there's friends with benefit culture. Okay?
Yeah,
You know, hookup mentality.
yeah.
So you're saying
Yeah.
the morals and the
Well,
values.
I mean, you know, yeah, I love you too. What's your name? I mean, these kids think
Yeah.
that sex is a recreational activity, and we use people for our own benefit.
Right.
To me, there's nothing more egregious than pornography.
Well, I'm understanding, Father, that in a high percentage of the cases involving sex trafficking, that it's the actual parents that may be trafficking the individuals, correct?
It is, but you know, when you look at a porn website, how many people say, oh gee, I wonder if she made her confirmation yet? I wonder where they go to church on weekends. And here in the state of Louisiana, of course, our shelter, and let me say this from the outset, I have 5 wonderful religious sisters and an excellent staff who take care of these children. I end up getting the microphone and the camera.
Yeah, the FaceTime.
I'm not the hero. I am not the hero. These wonderful, wonderful people are. But with that being said, we deal with children under the age of 18. Now, we are allowed to take children up to the age of 21 if they're in the state system already.
Okay.
Our common age is 11 to 17.
Mm-hmm.
In the state of Louisiana, 42% of our children are trafficked by their primary caregiver.
By their parents or
Their mother, their
grandparents.
father, their mother's boyfriend, their uncle, their whatever, okay?
Wow.
And of the children we have seen, over 80% of them have had some form of abuse, not necessarily trafficking, but sexual violation in the home.
Wow, that's astounding.
We had a little girl come to us out of the gangs in New Orleans. She comes in and she's threatening everybody, right? Except she's still got her stuffed animal,
Oh.
her pacifier, and her baby bottle that she prefers to drink out of.
Wait, how old is she?
She's going on, about to turn 17,
Okay.
and takes no stuff off anybody, but it tells you how old she was
When all that happened.
when someone first started fooling inappropriately with this child. But she came to us and she was at a 6th grade level. I mean, bright, very bright, wrote poetry, rip your heart out. She finished and graduated high school in 6 months. She did her entire coursework in 6 months. We did the graduation in the cap and gown and the pomp and circumstances, and she was so proud, you know, and it's just amazing what some of these kids have been through.
Right.
Our second born was a little girl who was her father's 17th child by 11 different women who found out, and she was the first female, I'm sorry, found out you can do something different with the female than with the son. He started, and of course his whole family started. Then she became their source of income. Her mother was a crack addict, floating in and out of their lives, you know, and here she is, and she's 16 years old, and she says, why can't I testify against my daddy? You know, she was not going to. And I said, darling, I understand it, but you know, you're 16 years old, and you put your daddy in jail. You're totally, now, I wish she would have,
Yeah.
but she was so scared to be 16 years old and have
alone.
the world
No.
against her.
Yeah.
You know, he had taught her to fight, and she eventually, and she was a sweet child, sweet child. And she eventually got mad and really hurt a couple of our kids. She messed up their face fighting.
Wow.
And so we can't have a child who's gonna hurt other children
Oh, no.
live in our house.
So when you talk about firstborn and secondborn, so that everyone understands.
Okay, well, I quit after our 5th born, but anyway, because we've served 82 children. But we remember very well our first children to come,
Gotcha.
and their stories and their situation and everything. But, you know, one of the things that a lot of people think is human trafficking is somewhere else. Whenever we go around, Father Chuck, my colleague and I, whenever we go around and talk, yeah, but we don't have that here, do we? Yes, we do.
Yes, we do.
Yeah, but they're not our children, are they? I want to say to myself, what difference does it make? This is still a child, but they are our children. We've served now 83 children,
Yes.
and we've had 3 internationals. The last, we had one little girl come in, impregnated by her trafficker. Not American, I'm not American born. And she was pregnant. So I'm a grandpa. Francisco was my first grandbaby, but anyway. And then recently we've had 2 other kids from the border.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another story altogether. Because with the amount going on here, locally, the children who are being trafficked by coyotes over the border, they're not showing up at police stations. They're not showing up at Department of Children and Family Services. They're not showing up at Children's Advocacy Centers because they're running from the law. They're illegal. And the amount of those kids would probably, deafen you when you think about it. But the problem with the reality is that no one sees it. And if I don't see it, it doesn't exist.
Right.
And it exists everywhere.
We at Believers Talk TV appreciate your continued financial faithful support for our programming.
Please mail your seeds to Believers Talk TV, Post Office Box 77506, Baton Rouge, Louisiana 70879. You help to make this happen. Believers Talk TV. Thank you so much for your support.
I had a meeting, a 5-state meeting in Lake Charles, law enforcement judiciary. One of the detectives from Waco, Texas was, doing something on his computer. We were having lunch. He said, excuse me. Went outside. He went on a website, advertised that he was a 13-year-old girl wanting to party. Within 45 minutes, they had a guy from Texas with a bag of weed, a convicted felon, and a gun in the parking lot waiting to hook up with him. We put the cuffs on him, threw him in jail. But the prevalence, and this really is going back to this pornography thing.
Right.
And I can tell you, as a Catholic priest, hearing confessions every week, it's a problem. People who have now, and I laugh, when I was a kid, I had 3 older brothers. I had to work to find pornography, okay? I finally found the Playboys in the top of the closet, all right? But now, every kid who's got one of these can get whatever he wants, anytime, everywhere, anywhere. And it's become such an issue that we don't look at this as someone's daughter, someone's son, whatever your particular fancy is. We look at them as an object to entertain me.
Right.
And as long as I get the jollies that I'm looking for, it's okay and it's harmless.
Well, let me ask you this. We live in a different world right now. How does this, you work with this day in and day out. How does this affect you at the end of the day? You're still a human, you're still a man, you're still a father. How does this affect you mentally?
Mentally, there are times where the emotions overwhelm me.
Absolutely.
Usually when I'm with the kids. Usually when I'm with the kids, I gotta get up and I need to go to my car or something,
Yeah.
Okay? Because it just hurts me, it just hurts me. And of course, you want to take them and love them like they're your own.
True.
But at the same time, as a man, I can't do that.
Right.
They don't,
For legality purposes,
I won't touch a child, past her elbow. Now, they'll come up and hug me, and that's fine, you know,
Mm.
but I gotta be very careful, because we're the ones, for the most part, who hurt these children so very badly, you know, and so,
And it could function as a trigger to them, correct?
absolutely.
Right.
But on my part, it really is a motivation.
Okay.
You know, I hate to say it, the more I hear, I got a call from a priest in India, and all the Indian kids are going to Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia and Dubai
Yeah.
to work, and they go there as domestics.
Uh-huh.
And of course, they're not, after a little while, they do more than scrub the floor, right?
Wow.
And if you refuse, they amputate.
Right,
Hands
they
and
cut off hands
hands,
and feet?
feet. So I've got a priest in northern India who's got 4,000 amputees that he's trying to take care of because of what happened to him.
Well, at that point, they become a damaged commodity, so what is the point of amputating those
Well-
particular individuals?
You gotta understand, in the Middle Eastern culture, who's the woman to tell me no?
Oh. So it's a sexual thing in terms of, you know, what is your preference? Are you male, are you female, you know? So a female does not typically speak up to a male in Middle Eastern
And a
culture.
servant certainly doesn't talk up to a master.
Wow, yeah, that's something that I didn't
I mean,
consider.
that's not, you know, it sounds very foreign to us.
Mm-hmm, yeah, right.
You know, I would never, you know, someone may work for me, but I never call them a servant.
Right.
You know, I never call someone a maid. You know, I mean, those terms are not, but servant and a woman.
So, Father, you've toured and traveled all over the nation, really, speaking on this subject. When did it become such a passion to you, or did the Lord tell you that this was a ministry that you needed to pursue?
You know, it's interesting. Back in around 83, 84, I started a tax-free corporation when I published my first book. Because you know, I always saw that high school retreats were great things for kids, and they were really great motivation, jumpstart, and everything like that. And so I started a tax-free corporation. I didn't want the money, but I wanted to one day build a retreat house for kids.
Right, for the youth.
Yeah, and I never got legs, never. And so, 2001, right after 9/11, I took a camera crew, David Haddad. I took David to Rome, and I interviewed this nun. At the time, the ambassador to the Vatican was Jim Nicholson, a good friend of mine. And Jim introduced me to a nun by the name of Sister Eugenia Bonetti. The Pope called her the Mother Teresa of trafficking victims. A few years ago, every Good Friday, they have the Stations of the Cross in the Colosseum.
Mhm.
She wrote them for trafficking
Okay.
victims.
For trafficking, okay.
And she taught me about the world of trafficking. And, you know, you sit down and you talk to a 15-year-old girl that's been raped 3,000 times, and you go, somebody's gotta do something.
Yeah,
And if nobody's gonna do it, I'm gonna do it.
wow.
You don't walk away and say, not my table.
Right.
You just don't walk away and do that. I mean, you talk to these kids and you go, oh my God, how are they standing up? How are they living after everything they've been through? You know, and so that's when I get emotional. That's when it, you know, for me, nobody else is doing it. A lot of people, not many are still doing it.
So
But-
what can we do as the body of Christ to assist? In any way, either through reporting or finance or financially or what have you. What can we do?
First of all, there are going to be a lot of people and say, who are watching this program going, what's this guy talking about?
Yeah.
Hey, he ain't got that. That's not really real here, you know? I mean, this is Baton Rouge, not New York City or LA. It's real.
Right.
I mean, they caught a they found a woman who was cognitively impaired, autistic or something, living in a dog kennel in a small town in southeast Louisiana, and was being sold. She's autistic, they keep her in a dog cage, and she's being sold by her own family. By her own family. Young girl from a very prominent high school here in Baton Rouge gets sold online. I mean, you know, this Facebook stuff. Hey, I'm here, I need a ride. Okay. Guy shows up. Hey, Susan told me you need a ride. Come on, take you over there. She ends up getting trafficked in the porn industry in LA. 14 months later, parents find her. She's kind of catatonic. She doesn't really respond. She's drug addicted. She remembers 30 or 40 events a day.
So again, I mean, can we protect our children from this, and
Well, let me ask you
can we
this.
do anything to assist with, you know, the rescue of these victims?
How do you find out though? How do you recognize it?
Uh,
Before we answer that, how do we recognize what's going on? Is there certain things we need to look out for?
There are some signs. They're not as obvious as you would think they would be. You know, obviously, you know, some of these kids still going to school. They'll make a day, miss 2 days, they'll fall asleep at 10:30 in the morning. You know, teachers need to be aware of that. You go in Walmart, and you see someone 25 years old, he got 3 girls hanging up on him, you know, all up at him, and they all dressed nice. What the hell's that all about?
Okay.
No, I mean, I don't know if you remember, and I don't know this for a fact, this little guy, they carjacked this lady in New Orleans and ripped her arm off as they drove away. Do you remember that? Yeah, it was in New Orleans, and he had 2 15 and 1 16-year-old girl with him. What's that all about? How many 16, 17-year-old boys have 3 girlfriends they keep at the same time in the same place?
Look, guys, we've discussed so much today, and we realize that there's a lot more that we need to discuss regarding this particular issue. And so we want you to have the time to tune in next week for a continuation with our panel discussion with Father Jeff Bayhi. Stay tuned and come back to the next segment of Believers Talk.